A lot to be proud of, and it all happened so fast, like it's hard to appreciate in the moment.
That is Iowa native and Indiana Fever star, and now Times 2024 Athlete of the Year, Caitlin Clark, looking back at a whirlwind year.
Caitlin Clark was just named the second female athlete of the year since Serena Williams, but you won't believe the drama that goes on behind the scenes.
So, Caitlin Clark and Christie Sides. Christie Sides, the first WNBA coach that Caitlin Clark played for. And surprisingly, even though in her recent Time article, she was very positive around WNBA coaches in general. She was very positive around how good the quality of coaching was in the WNBA. But she took a not so subtle jab at Caitlin Clark, or not Caitlin Clark, at Christie Sides.
In a candid interview in this video, we'll take a behind-the-scenes look at their relationship through Clark's interview, the challenges the team faced, and why the much-needed coaching change will alter the Indiana Fever's trajectory for years to come. At last, Clark breaks her silence and shares the good, bad, and ugly of her historic season. Trust me, you'll want to hear what she has to say about her former coach Christie's side.
Time magazine recognizes the monster impact Clark had on basketball, saying good luck naming another athlete who altered the trajectory of their entire team sport within 5 months on the job.
Everything changed when Caitlin Clark, a small-town Iowa girl, took the WNBA court. Her transformation from collegiate standout to WNBA rookie was nothing short of revolutionary. In 2024, Clark broke both the NCAA Division I women's basketball scoring record and Pete Maravich's total college scoring record, making her collegiate career an incredible spectacle. A mark for every player, regardless of gender.
For college basketball history. She does it with a foul shot. Caitlin Clark becomes the all-time leading scorer in major college basketball history. Passing Pistol Pete.
As Clark got ready for her WNBA debut, fans, analysts, and other players wondered if she would live up to the hype, if she could translate her college success to the professional level, and if her coach and team could handle the situation. The excitement surrounding her WNBA draft was intense, and all eyes were on Indiana. The response arrived quickly. Clark had an instantaneous and indisputable influence on the league. Fans flocked to watch the phenom in action, and WNBA attendance skyrocketed. However, the transition wasn't simple. The players were stronger, the game was more complex, and the pace was faster than anything Clark had ever experienced. It was a completely new ball game, and she, her team, and her coach had to adjust fast.
We were just sick that we had lost so many games, and also feeling like we were better than that.
Clark's skills improved over the season as she researched defensive tactics and modified her style of play, outwitting even the most seasoned defenders. Her teammates and coach Christie Sides also adapted to Clark's once-in-a-generation style of play. Some would even argue that they simply let Clark take charge. Her efforts paid off, as Clark broke 62 records and was named Rookie of the Year and First Team All-WNBA. She also proved she could succeed among the pros, overcoming adversity to emerge stronger, more skilled, and more determined than ever. However, even as Clark was making waves on the court, her team was going through its own setbacks, and the Indiana Fever's journey was about to take an unexpected turn that would test Clark's resolve and influence the franchise's future.
Obviously, I don't think Caitlin Clark had anything to do with Christie Sides firing. I think Christie Sides' inability to coach basketball had everything to do with her firing, and I mean that. I think the reason why Christie Sides got fired is because she's not a very good basketball coach. And I think that if you put in any sort of competent basketball mind, you can tell she's not a very good basketball coach.
As Caitlin Clark shone on the court, another story played out on the sidelines, and Christie Sides, the head coach of the Fever, became embroiled in an increasingly heated dispute. How could a group with so much potential struggle so severely under her direction? With great expectations, Christie Sides assumed control of the Indiana Fever. On paper, her coaching philosophy, which placed an emphasis on defensive intensity and a slower, more controlled tempo of play, sounded like a sound plan, but as the season progressed, flaws started to show in the framework.
You don't know how to use Caitlin Clark's strengths. You don't know how to play to her weaknesses. You don't know how to draw up a simple out-of-bounds play. You don't know how to calm down muddy waters. You don't know how to call a timeout and relax everybody's emotions. You don't know how to talk to the referees. All you know how to do is wave your arms and defensive slide on the sidelines. And Christie Sides, I'm tired of seeing it every single game.
Even though the Fever had one of the most gifted rookies in WNBA history in Caitlin Clark, their early season problems were difficult to overlook. Sid's strict defensive scheme clashed with Clark's dynamic style of play, causing frustration on and off the court. It was like watching a Ferrari stuck in rush hour traffic, all that potential with nowhere to go.
A lot of the things she did well were like good assistant coach things. Things you want from a good assistant coach. Not your head coach. Was she good in game adjustments? No. Was she good at making subs? No. Was she good at making, like, seeing what the other teams were doing and game planning for that? No.
One of the most obvious problems was Sid's unwillingness to modify her game plans during a crucial game against the Connecticut Sun. The Fever's defense collapsed because of unclear direction and poor communication, giving the Sun easy scoring opportunities. This pattern of poor play wasn't limited to one bad game. It continued throughout the season.
Imagine if you were like a coach from the 80s and you got bumped into today's basketball and it's just, go stop your man. Go stop your man. Like, I mean, she was a motivational speaker. But listen to what Caitlin Clark said. Clark knows she can get better. She expresses admirations for Clark's game plans against the Fever. We didn't usually have the best game plan back, Clark said when White stopped by the gym during her workout. Like, here's a ball screen. Caitlin, figure it out.
During her candid interview, Clark, who is known for having a high basketball IQ, couldn't help but notice the tactical flaws. She made a subtle but telling comment. We didn't usually have the best game plan back, which carried a lot of weight, but the issues didn't stop there. The team's star players struggled to effectively manage player rotations and game emotions, and you would frequently see the starters playing the entire game or benched for very strange reasons. Remember that LA game.
Christie Sides' incompetence is why that game ended up that way. She doesn't call a timeout for about a 17-minute span from the 7+ minute mark of the third quarter to about the final minute of the fourth quarter.
Both fans and experts started to express their worries. Some even went so far as to call her one of the worst coaches in WNBA history, with one especially nasty comment characterizing her as the kryptonite to Caitlin Clark's Superman abilities. The message was clear: she was holding the team back. Unfortunately, as the season went on, Sid's incapacity to make in-game changes became increasingly apparent, and crucial moments were lost as a result of bad choices, leaving both players and spectators perplexed. It resembled a chess game in which one side would not move their pieces. Before the game ever started, it was lost.
My favorite part is that the not-so-subtle shot that Caitlin Clark took at Christie Sides was literally, in my opinion, the one play when Marina Maber hit that three, the reason why they lost that game. I've always said this from the start. And they have no philosophy on defense. They have no philosophy on how to play screens. They have no philosophy on when to switch, when to go under, when to fight over. Everybody was out there winging it on defense. Her defensive philosophy was make sure the other team scores less points than us.
However, despite all of the difficulties and disappointments, something extraordinary occurred, and the against all odds began to develop. Perhaps it was the talent of players like Clark, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, and Lexi Hall. Perhaps it was the group's will to achieve despite the challenges. Regardless of the cause, the Indiana Fever managed to claw their way back into playoff contention for the first time since 2016. This was a remarkable turnaround given where they started, but even as they celebrated their success, there was a feeling that something was still lacking. The team had succeeded not because of their coach, but despite her.
Christie Sides is like someone who has never played the sport of basketball, asking ChatGPT to run some stuff, and she would look up YouTube. She would go onto YouTube and look up type in plays to get shooters open and then run them sometimes. I'm not joking when I say that was the Christie Side system. The Christie Side system could have been replaced by someone in the stand using ChatGPT. Like, she was the worst coach in pro basketball.
The writing was on the wall as their playoff run came to an end, and the management of the Fever realized they needed to make a change. Sure, the team had made it to the postseason, but at what cost? The team's potential was much greater than what they had demonstrated to truly compete for a championship, and they needed a coach who could unlock that potential. As the off-season got underway, the Fever made their move and parted ways with Christie sides, marking the end of a turbulent chapter in the team's history, but this was only the beginning of something new. The Fever were prepared to turn the page and start over, and they knew they needed a coach who could match that level of talent.
I mean this when I say this. She was a good motivational speaker. The lady never did any good for her. No wonder why she didn't respect her. Like, I'm sorry, if you're a basketball player and you've come from Lisa Bluter, Dawn, or Emma, and you're coming into the Fever, and your coach is then telling you to wing it. Your coach is literally telling you to wing it on the defensive end. And your coach who would constantly preach defense, defense, defense. No, she didn't preach defense. She literally preached defense in a way of, if we concede less than, her defense philosophy was we need to concede less than 84 points.
If you've watched this far and are enjoying the video, please remember to like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications. We know you're spending some time watching this video, and we appreciate it. Now, let's get back to the action. The search was on for someone who could take the Fever to the next level, someone who could harness the power of Clark's generational talent and build a true contender. Little did they know the ideal candidate was just around the corner, ready to usher in a new era of Fever basketball.
I gotta give credit to the Indiana Fever for not saying mediocre is enough.
The Indiana Fever required a visionary to join them, not simply a new coach. Stephanie White is a lady who intends to transform the WNBA as a whole, not simply the team. With 25 years of experience as an Indiana player and coach, White's return to the campus seems like a homecoming. The Fever are hoping for an immediate impact, and White appears ready to deliver it. She is well versed in the organization, but don't assume that this familiarity means more of the same. White is ready to shake things up. Her track record shows she has what it takes to do it. Just take a look at what she did with the Connecticut Sun in her first season, leading the team to a top 3 finish in the league and winning Coach of the Year.
I also want our players to use their instincts and to play free. You know, we want to make plays, not run plays, right? We want to have sets that give us certain spacing that we want, depending upon our rotations, who's on the floor, who we want to attack, what matchups we want to get to. How can we manipulate them? So we'll have certain play calls that just give us space to operate. And then whichever play we make, whichever pass we make determines, you know, one of 3 actions that our players can read from. And so really giving them the freedom to play within a system.
However, this is when things start to become very fascinating. White's coaching strategy is centered on maximizing each player's potential. The days of strict play calling are behind, and according to the book Tactics, White encourages her players to follow their gut feelings, play at a fast tempo, and make decisions depending on the flow of the game, since basketball is more than simply XS and OS on a whiteboard. This strategy is completely at odds with Christie side's method, which placed an emphasis on control and set plays. White is all about fostering an atmosphere that allows athletes to flourish, and for a generational talent like Caitlin Clark, this might be the secret to reaching even greater heights.
I started watching Caitlin Clark when she was in the 8th grade when I was at Vanderbilt.
How about that?
And then I called a lot of her games in college when she was at Iowa. And so I've really watched her continue to learn and grow, and I have great relationships with her college coaches and had multiple conversations with them throughout the course of her career about what the next steps would be, right, and what the next level would be.
Although White has plans for utilizing Clark's special skill set, she is looking at the bigger picture and wants to develop Clark into a great leader for the Fever. When you have 3 foundational players and your big 3 have that mindset and that mentality, great things can happen. She is discussing a structured system that emphasizes spacing and player movement. But within that structure, Clark will have the freedom to operate to create to be the basketball wizard we all know she can be. White claims that she is creating a dynasty rather than merely assembling a squad.
These players got great experience in the playoffs this year. They're all hungry to grow and hungry to improve and hungry to be coached and hungry to win. And when you have 3 foundational players and your big 3 that have that mindset, have that mentality, and great things can happen.
Of course, not all of it is offensive. White has huge ambitions for the defensive end. She talks about helping players develop a commitment and communication mentality, And she's using statistics to inform defensive tactics so that each player knows their job and responsibilities. Fans are giddy with enthusiasm about the all-team approach, but let's face it, the path ahead won't be simple. White is having a difficult time turning the Fever into a true contender because the WNBA is more competitive than ever and there is talent all across the league. It takes time, patience, and a lot of hard work to construct a championship-caliber squad.
The greatest lesson of all time is to let them have a voice. And I think so many coaches don't do that. You know, and when you have players like the ones you had in Kinetic, I think, you know, when they know. And if you don't do what they want to do, they'll also say, she's doing it wrong.
However, here's the thing. There is a tangible sense of excitement in the air as players talk about feeling energized about looking forward to a fresh start. White is already laying the groundwork. She is assembling her coaching staff, creating a solid foundation for the team, and get this, she is emphasizing player feedback and collaboration in her approach. It's not just about her vision, it's about creating a shared vision with the players. The early reactions from Clark and her teammates are nothing but positive. The crew as a whole seems to have received a heart-pounding dose of adrenaline.
Not bringing in, my system and my style, and this is the way that we're going to do it, but really adapting and blending some of what we wanted to do or thought we could do with what they had already done that's been very successful.
It might be difficult to avoid being sucked into the possibilities as we anticipate the next season. With Stephanie White at the helm and Caitlin Clark leading the charge on the court, the Fever are suddenly looking like a team that could make some serious noise. White's offensive genius and Clark's otherworldly talent make for some seriously entertaining basketball. Add in the growth of other important players like Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, and Lexi Hull, and the team could make some serious noise. Fever basketball is so good that the rest of the league has to pay attention because a storm is building in Indianapolis and it will soon overtake the WNBA.
It's our job then as coaches to continue to put them in positions to succeed, and our job as a franchise to put the pieces around them that will fill some of the gaps and fill some of the holes, and ultimately our goal is to win championships and to hang banners.
Basketball fans are anxiously awaiting Caitlin Clark's next move as the Indiana Fever, now coached by Stephanie White, are prepared to capitalize on Clark's momentum. Clark's rookie season set the groundwork for an exciting future in the WNBA with her record-breaking performances and unmistakable effect on the game. White's ambition to hoist banners and win titles fits very well with Clark's fierce competitiveness.
The future is so bright, and our ultimate goal is to hang another banner in the field house. And our ultimate goal is to come back in here after we win that championship and celebrate again like we did in 2012.
Considering the future, the basketball community is eager to see what Clark will achieve next since, in addition to amassing remarkable step hats, she has turned into a genuine inspiration for the game, attracting both new players and viewers. Indiana basketball is on the verge of something extraordinary thanks to Clark's extraordinary talent and White's new coaching style. The team's transformation from a struggling franchise to a possible contender is drawing interest from all around the WNBA as Clark keeps improving and the group unites under White's direction. Fans are eager to see what happens in the upcoming seasons, and the future is bright. Do you agree? If so, please let us know in the comments, subscribe, and enable all alerts so you don't miss anything. We'll see you in the next one once you click the video on the screen.